So when people are asking me what the best Sonos system is that they can buy on the market today, I will usually ask them what their budget is, and if the budget is not a concern, then I will push them towards a Sonos Arc paired with two Era 300, which also has upward firing speakers for the rear surround channels and a subwoofer, and that will be the Sub Gen 3. And if they really have money to spare, then I will ask them to go for two subwoofers. But usually, and most of us will find the best setup to be the Sonos Arc with one subwoofer and two Era 300. Now that is if, of course, money is not a concern. So what is better than that? Because that system is going to cost you about $2,600. Now today, Sonos has something, well, at least for probably about this month or so, they have something which is better, which is basically actually the same setup, but at about $2,200. Well, plus a little bit. Now that system on its own is actually a very, very capable Atmos capable system. And if you have that system, you are likely to be enjoying all your movies and all the sounds. Basically, everything is wireless. The rear surrounds are wireless, the subwoofers are wireless, and the Sonos Arc itself will also be wireless, except, of course, the HDMI cable that's running from the TV to the Sonos Arc. But definitely all the speakers will require power because these are powered speakers. Now, Sonos is running a holiday sale, and this holiday sale is amazing. It changes the whole dynamics and my recommendations a little bit, and I will explain it to you in just a little bit. Well, I know I should have done this video a lot sooner because it is 2 days away to Christmas, and if I were to release it any later, it will be past Christmas. So if you haven't gotten the right Christmas present in the form of a Sonos system, then maybe go out and get one for yourself while the holiday sales last. And most of the products on the Sonos website is going for 20% discount, and this is not just their regular stock clearance and they're clearing away the unsold inventory. They are actually selling even the Sonos Arc, which is a very, very capable flagship soundbar, at 20% off. The Beam is going for 20% off. The Sonos Ray is going for 20% off. Heck, even the recently launched Sonos Era 100 is going for 20% off. It was at $249, now it's selling for $199. All this in US dollars. Even the Sub Gen 3 is at 20% off. Oh, did I also mention that the Sub Mini is also 20% off? Now, all these 20% off, it actually makes a lot of difference because it changes the whole dynamics of what I tend to recommend to you guys out there. Now, the only thing that is conspicuously missing from the 20% discount lineup is actually the Era 300. Well, God knows, maybe Sonos is selling enough of that and the demand is high enough for that, or they don't have enough stocks, so they don't really have to push the price down by too much in order to sell that. So this system that I'm recommending, right, which is the more like the almost the ultimate system that you can get from Sonos, which is the Sonos Arc with the Era 300, a pair of them as rear surround and a subwoofer. It costs you usually about $2,600, but with the discount, it goes about 13% off, and it is now at about $2,250 there or so, thereabouts. I'm not really sure, I can't remember all the numbers. I know I should have done this earlier. I should have told you about this earlier, but basically this deal is not the best deal that you can get on Sonos. Let me explain why, all right? So this setup, just remember, bear in mind, if you have the money and you have the budget to go for it, this is probably the system that will give you the best sound and enjoyment from all your movies. But because of the 20% discount that is running on at the moment, there are a couple of things that I want to talk about. Now, there is a Beam set. Now, the Sonos Beam Gen 2 is also an Atmos capable soundbar, except it doesn't have the upward firing speakers, and it can be paired with the Era 100, which also doesn't have upward firing speakers, but together with the Beam Gen 2, it will be able to process Atmos sounds. And you couple that with a Sub Gen 3, you are looking at a heck of a capable system just without the upward firing speakers, and this was going for about $1,800. And because the Era 100 is also going for a 20% discount, the Beam Gen 2 is also going for a 20% discount, as well as the Sub Gen 3 also going for a 20% discount. The entire setup is going for a 20% discount in totality, and it brings the price down to about $1,436 to be precise. And $1,436 as compared to $2,256 for the Sonos Arc, which I was mentioning earlier, you are saving about $800. $800 just, well, basically you're losing a little bit of the size of the soundscape, and you're losing the top firing speakers. But it is really, really a good setup. Now, I have the Sonos Arc setup. I have the Sonos Arc setup with dual sub, so it costs quite a bit. Now, I also have the Beam Gen 2 in the bedroom, and that is being paired with the Sub Mini as well as the older Sonos ones. So those are not the Era 100, which are the newer replacement for the Sonos ones. And that set me back quite a bit of money as well, but of course not as expensive as the Arc. And I definitely don't need the performance of the Arc in my bedroom. Most of the time, I'm not watching those bing, bing, bang, bang, those action movies in the bedroom when I'm lying down to sleep. So I've done a review on this Beam setup as well. This Beam setup with the Sub Mini and the Sonos ones. And I was suitably taken aback by the sound quality. It is really a good system. Now, I was recently just watching, well, I know I said I wasn't watching action movies on the Sonos Beam Gen 2 when I'm in the bedroom, but I was watching Leave the World Behind. So this is a Netflix show. Oh, it's a terrible show. The pace was all over the place, and the ending, my God, I'm not going to spoil it for you in case you want to waste 2 hours of your time watching that movie, but the ending was a complete letdown. But the sound engineering in that movie was quite good, and there were scenes that had the plane crashing down, and you could actually feel the impact coming from the Sub Mini, and the whole surround soundscape was actually recreated pretty well. So you will hear some sounds coming from the side. It's a pretty tense movie at certain points in the movie itself, so you'll hear some sounds to your rear, and you will be convinced that there is actually something coming from your rear. So that setup for 1,400 instead of 1,800 is actually a very good setup. So if you are after that particular setup, the one that Sonos is selling on their website for the holiday sale right now is the Sonos Beam Gen 2 with the Sub Mini and the Era 100. So it is one step up, right? Because you're replacing the Sonos ones with the Era 100, which is a newer speaker. And that speaker has 3 drivers, 2 angled tweeters at the top and 1 mid-bass driver. So that setup with the Beam Gen 2 and the Sub Mini and the Era 100 as a set used to cost about 1,400. Now it is costing 1,140. And because all the items in this setup is at a 20% discount, the entire setup is at a 20% discount. For 1,100, it is actually quite an excellent buy. But if you absolutely, definitely cannot cross the 1,000 benchmark, then I have a trick up my sleeve, right? Well, I'm wearing a sleeveless shirt, but this will be to replace the Era 100, right, with an older Sonos One. So Sonos is selling the refurbished Sonos One SL, the Shadow Edition. The color is a little bit slightly different from what you're going to be getting from the Eras, but you will actually be able to reduce your price for this particular setup with the Beam Gen 2 and the Sub Mini. Instead of using the Era 100, use the Sonos One SL. Now, with that, it will bring your price below 1,000. But if you want everything to be new, right, and you don't want to use refurbished set, there is yet another way of going about it, and that is to use the Sonos Ray. So Sonos has 3 distinct soundbars for different budget. You have the Sonos Arc, which usually sells for about $900. They are going for a discount, so that's a good 20% discount off. The Sonos Beam Gen 2, which is also an Atmos capable soundbar, except no outward firing speaker, that is going for $399, which is 20% less than the usual $499 price. Now the Sonos Ray, the difference is that it only has 4 drivers and it doesn't have a HDMI input. It uses optical input, right? So you will lose a little bit of flexibility in terms of how you connect it to your TV. But if you have an older TV that doesn't have HDMI ARC or eARC support, then that will actually do absolutely fine. Now the Sonos Ray being cheaper, right? The Sonos Ray is actually, normal price is $279, now is going for $232. Now, $232 soundbar. Let that sink in for just a little bit. Now you're looking at the Era 100, which normally sells for $249. So technically, this sale price for the Ray is actually cheaper than the regular price for the Era 100. Granted, the Era 100 is now going for $199, but well, there you go, right? $232 for a Sonos soundbar. That is cool. In fact, with the optical input for the Sonos Ray, you can actually connect it to your PC easily without having to pass through a TV that has a HDMI eARC or ARC port. So the Sonos Ray can actually be connected directly to your PC. So that is the flexibility that's being afforded by the Sonos Ray. So the Sonos Ray, coupled with the Sub Mini and a pair of brand new Era 100, usually it will cost you about $1,200. But now, with the 20% discount, because all the items are on 20% discount, you're going to be able to get this below $1,000 at $964. Now, that is a 5.1 home theater setup with full surrounds as well as a subwoofer for $964, $1,000 with change. And you could use this spare change to buy cables, right? I have talked about the best Ugreen HDMI cable, supports up to HDMI 2.1 with eARC support, all the features that you ever need with the reliability and the build quality that I've always looked out for. In fact, all my cables at home, I have defaulted them to using this series of Ugreen HDMI cables. Now, I will put a link up here, or I will actually put a QR code. If you do need HDMI cables, please don't need to look anywhere else. Don't have to buy expensive Audio Quest HDMI cables. They don't do anything more than what these Ugreen cables can do for you. So these are Amazon affiliate links. If you buy the cable, I'll literally get a couple of cents from your sale because I pushed you and I introduced you to these cables. And that is one way of helping the channel grow. So cables, then go for these Ugreen cables. Now, this Ray setup, right? There's yet another way to make the saving. Remember, I was talking about the 1SL, the refurbished one. So if you swap out the Era 100 with the refurbished 1SL Shadow Edition, that is on sale directly from Sonos, those are actually gonna save you even more money. And the whole set, the entertainment set with the Ray and the refurbished 1SL together, they're gonna cost you only $804. That's $800 for a full surround system. Now, the Sonos One will perform almost as well as the Era 100 because the Era 100 is not going to introduce any more new drivers. There aren't new actual physical upward firing drivers. In any case, the Ray won't actually produce and process Atmos sound. So you are good to go with the Sonos One setup. That is not going to limit the sound capabilities in any way. So that system, $800, one subwoofer, two rear surround, and the soundbar itself. So that is changing the whole equation quite a bit. Now, this whole setup would have minimally, right? If you look at the Ray with the Sub Mini and the Era 100, normal days, it would have cost you $1,200. So this is one way to bring the price from $1,200 to $800 without losing really a whole lot more from the sound quality department at all. So while I have been talking about all these components set that Sonos is selling, that you're going to buy the whole system all at once, I understand that a lot of you may already have the system or maybe thinking of upgrading individual components. So Sonos is great because it allows you to mix and match. If you want to go with the Era 300 with a Sonos Ray budget soundbar, go for it because actually Sonos supports that. If you want to go with a Sub Mini together with the flagship Sonos Arc soundbar, which is big, then go for it because Sonos supports that. There is no limitation, or rather very little limitation when it comes to how you want to mix and match the components. So if you want to just upgrade single components, yes, you are able to do that. And if you want to add on new components, like if you are not using rear speakers, you can add it on. If you want one sub or two more subs, you can actually go for that as well. And I want to bring your attention to the individual components, right? So we talked about the set. Now let's go on to the individual components. I mentioned the ARC, I mentioned the Beam Gen 2, and I mentioned the Sonos Ray. Every of these soundbars are going for 20% discount. The Sonos Arc from $900 will go to $719. The Beam Gen 2 will be at $499 usual price, going for $399 now, $400, less than $400. You could put that $1 towards a tip to me for my coffee fund, right? So if I've helped you in any way, feel free to do that. Scan this QR code. This is a Patreon link account. If you go to the Patreon link account, you can set up a monthly contribution, or you could use the super like or the super thanks button right below this video. And when you click it, you can make a small contribution to my video if I've helped you make a decision in any way. Or the other way is that I have set up new membership tiers. Now, these new membership tiers are simply ways for you to easily set up a monthly contribution towards my channel building, and I will keep delivering these videos. Now, note that I don't really give perks for the smaller tier membership. I'm not into that, right? Because basically, I'm not blocking anything. I'm not putting any information or things that I share behind paywalls. I share it anyway. So if you have found some value, then I will depend on you to actually actively and proactively click on those links to support the channel. Anything that you buy through my Amazon affiliate links will also help me. Now, when I provide the links to all the sets that Sonos is selling directly, those are not affiliate links. I don't get any money out of those at all. So if you save the 20%, if you save the 10, 20, 13% from there, then, you know, if you like to, if I've helped you save that money, then feel free to drop a bit towards my coffee fund as well. Thank you for that. So the Sonos Ray as well is going for $279 usual price. Now it's going for $223. $223 for a soundbar that is going to cost less than the regular price of $249 for the Era 100. So that is a real steal. So talk about the Era 100. The Era 100, if you want to add as surround speakers, or even if you want to use them as standalone music playing speakers, streamers, you can do that. They usually cost $249. They are now going for $199. $199 is even cheaper than after Sonos bumped up the price for the Sonos One. So that in itself is actually a pretty good deal. Now, one of the components that I've always talked about is a subwoofer. And subwoofer is almost instrumental towards getting great sound from a home theater system. And this home theater system is really not going to be complete without a subwoofer. The subwoofer, the regular size subwoofer, the bigger one, the Sub Gen 3, is usually going for $799, but with the 20% discount, is now going for $649. It's still a relatively hefty sum to pay for a subwoofer, but that subwoofer is a really good performer. It's a ported subwoofer. Or you could go for the Sub Mini. The Sub Mini is a sealed subwoofer. It is smaller, it's cylindrical in shape, and that usually goes for $429 US. With the discount, listen for this, $343. Now, a $343 subwoofer that performs at this level, looks that sleek, really hard to find. $343 is really a good price to pay for a Sonos subwoofer. And if you add that to your stereo setup, or you add that to your home theater setup, trust me, I guarantee you, you will find that you're getting a lot out of your music, a lot out of your movie, if you weren't actually using a subwoofer before this. Of course, if your room is bigger, I do recommend the Sub Gen 3, which is bigger, more powerful, and ported, so you get more, you know, in your chest kind of bass. But if you wanted more accurate music reproduction, the Sub Mini will actually do just fine. Now, note that in my bedroom, I have relatively high vaulted ceiling in the bedroom, and they are up to 4 meters at one point. I am using a Sub Mini, and I never really felt that anything was amiss. The bass was actually good enough. So these are me sharing with you what I think you can benefit from this Sonos sale. Now, Sonos is going to put up some new products next year, and they have Patrick Spence has actually mentioned and dropped some hints that about the certain products that they're going to be launching, right? There's talk about a set-top box or maybe a TV box. So that will probably allow you to get the best sound out of any TV, right? It doesn't have to be a modern TV that is able to process Atmos. And what that will likely do is that there will be a connection that will split the sound to the Sonos soundbars, and then there will be one that will output the video to the TV, so that you won't be impeded by the performance on your TV and whether your TV is up to date. Now, if you have an older TV and you're still happy with the picture, then trust me, the sound upgrade that you're going to get from using Sonos setup in your setup, you will be happy with it. Now, the other product that Sonos is likely to actually launch next year, it could be hinted headphones, right? So I've talked about headphones before. I'll put some of these links up here and you could click through. And these headphones, if they look anything like the preview, or rather the fan render that I've seen before, then I will jump for those. No, those are going to be premium price headphones. So $400 to $500 as leaked by Bloomberg. I don't know whether most people are going to be able to afford a $400-500 pair of headphones. I don't see a lot of AirPods Max flying around, or in the wild. I don't see people using them a lot. Of course, you can buy them cheap. I do have them right here actually, but it is not something that I use actively. I use a lot because it looks too flashy. It attracts a lot of attention. It's just not me, right? So if Sonos releases the headphone, yes, then I will definitely jump for those. So any of these products released in just a couple of months time, be sure that I will be the one updating you, and I will put it on my channel. So if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, then I do encourage you to subscribe. So if any of the products do launch, I will make sure that I release a video on that. So for those of you who are concerned about how I've been, yes, I did go for an emergency surgery about just almost 2 weeks back. That's why I missed the video the last time. I'm definitely better now. I'm talking with a lot more strength. I was heavily sedated within the first week or so, and I was in a lot of pain, so I couldn't make the video. So now that I'm in front of the video, you would know that I'm definitely feeling a lot better, but my mobility is still going to be a little bit limited. But not to worry, I am well now, and I will see you in more videos to come. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Have a great 2024, guys.